All right, in today's lesson, we're going to be solving exponential equations. So, I mean like this. 5 to the x equals 18. Exponential equations are where x is in the exponent. Yesterday, in the previous lessons, x was in the logarithm. Today, it's in the exponent. So our goal is to get x down out of the exponent so that you can isolate it and then solve it. So here's our game plan. You may want to pause the video and write it down. You want to isolate the piece with the x in it. You want to isolate this base with the x in it. We're going to use our swirl thing to get the x out of the exponent, and I'll model that for you. Then we're going to solve it using the calculator, and I will show you some calculator keystrokes to help you with this step. So let's look first at exponential equations where x is in the exponent. Now, when I do this, this is what it starts out as. X is up here. I need to get it out of the exponent to put it in the calculator to solve it. So I'm going to use the swirl. Okay, I'm going to do log with this as my base. Base 5 of 18 is equal to x. All right. Now I'm going to show you how to enter this in the calculator with this different base. Okay, the log button in your calculator, it has a base of 10, but there is a way to make it log base 5. So hold on, here we go. All right, in your calculator, when you hit the logarithm button, it automatically defaults to a base of 10. So if I want the log base 10 of 4, it's great. But if I want to change that base, I can. If I hit the math button and scroll all the way down to option A, this is log base, then I have the opportunity to change that base. So in our example in our notes, we're going to change it to the base of 5 of 18. Hit enter, and there's our answer. 1.7958, blah, blah, blah. We're going to round to 2 decimals, so you want to make sure your answer is 1.80. Now, a shortcut to getting here is instead of going math and scrolling all the way down, you can just hit math, alpha, math, and it will put you right back where we were. So we're going to write those keystrokes in our notes. It's just math, alpha, math. Now, we've looked at our calculator. We saw that this came out to be x equals 1.80. So let's stop and take a moment and write down the keystrokes that we talked about. You're going to hit the math button, the alpha button, and then math again. All right, there's 3 buttons to hit, alpha, math, and then you're going to enter the logarithm as we found it when we swirled it out of the exponent. So you're going to enter it like that. And remember, we're going to round to 2 decimals. All right, round it to 2 decimals. So let's try another one. Let's look at number 2. And so as I do this, since I don't have a great calculator to show you in the video, I'm going to show you what I come up with in the calculator after I do it. And this is a great chance for you to practice with your calculators. The same keystrokes, math, alpha, math, put in what we end up with our logarithm and see if you get the same answer I do. Now let's just work on getting it into the logarithmic form. So I'm going to say the log, this one's base 8 of 360 equals 3x. Now I need to isolate x, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And so what I'm going to do in my calculator is I'm going to do this in 2 steps, okay? I'm going to do the numerator in step 1, get my answer, and then divide by 3. You just want to be careful that you do use the math, alpha math for the top, and then divide by 3. Don't try to do it too quickly. When I did it in the calculator, I get x equals 0.94. Try that, see if that's what you get. Look at number 3. 3 to the 2x minus 1 power equals 3.96. So x is up in the exponent, so I'm going to have to take the logarithm to get it out. My base is 3 of 3.96 equals 2x minus 1. Now remember, my job here is to isolate x, so I'm going to have to move this negative 1 over here. So I'm going to keep this logarithm thing, all of it together, and I'm going to add that 1 now, equals 2x. Now I need to divide both sides by 2 to get x isolated. So when I put that in my calculator, here's what I'm putting in. I'm going to do the log base 3 of 3.96, add 1, then divide by 2. So make sure you do that in steps in your calculator. When I did that, I got 1.13 when I rounded to 2 decimals. All right, you try it and see if that's what you get. Now let's look at number 4. This one has negative 1 plus 5 to the x plus 1 power equals 2. Now we need to move the -1 over here because we're trying to get the exponent piece alone. So I'm going to add 1 over here. So I'll have 5 to the x plus 1 equals 3. All right. Now I'm going to take a logarithm. Now I can take the logarithm, so I'm going to logarithm of 5, logarithm base 5 of 3 equals x plus 1. Now my goal is to get x, so I'm going to move the 1 over here. Log base 5 of 3 minus 1 equals x. Now keep all of this together. The log base 5 of 3, find that first in your calculator, then subtract the 1. When you do, you should end up with -0.32. Hopefully you're pausing the video and trying this in your calculator and getting those keystrokes down. Let's try the next ones. This one is -10 to the x power equals -182. Now, we don't want that negative there. We want to remove that, okay? How can we remove that? Well, let's just divide both sides by -1, and that takes care of business. So I'll have 10 to the x equals 182. Everything's positive now. Now we just take the logarithm at base 10. It's already base 10, remember? It's understood, of 182 equals x. Now on this one, you don't have to use that log base function. You can just hit the log key on your calculator and type in 182, and it will give you the answer. And you should end up with 2.26. Remember, the log key has the base of 10 built in. Now, let's look at the next type of question. Remember, if you have something like this, x to the third equals 96. How do we undo that? Well, we want to get rid of that power of 3, right? So the way to do it is to raise each side by the reciprocal power. So this is 3 over 1. I'm going to raise it to 1 over 3. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. All right? Now, I'm going to show you how to do this in your calculator. No problem. But like, I'll write out the keystrokes. You're just going to do like 96 and the caret. The caret puts it in the exponent. And then the fraction will, to get the fraction, you'll hit alpha y equals, and then you can put in the fraction, okay, whatever the exponent is, and that'll put it in the exponent location for you. So I'll show you in video in just a second. But let's set these up. Log equations where x is in the base. X is in the base now. What happens here? Well, look at this example. Log base x of 2.1 equals 4. Well, let's solve that. We need to get x out of the base. So if we're going to do the same thing we were doing before, we're going to swirl it. So if I swirl this, I'll have x to the 4th equals 2.1. All right, I don't want x to the 4th. I just want x. So I'm going to say x to the 4th, but remember that's like 4 over 1. So to get rid of it, I'm going to raise it to the reciprocal power, the 1/4 power. All right? When I do that, these over here cancel out, and I'll end up with just x equals 2.1 to the 1/4 power, and I will show you how to put that in your calculator momentarily. But when I do, I get x equals 1.20. Now let's look at number 2, and then I'll show you the calculator stuff. Again, x is down here in the base. We need to swirl it out. So x to the 6.3 power equals 47. All right, well, this power looks gnarly, right? It's a decimal. How do you do a reciprocal of a decimal? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're going to make it a fraction, all right? That's 6 3/10, right? 6 3/10. So let's think about it. 6 3/10. If I write that as a mixed number, it's 6 times 10 is 60, plus 3 is 63 tenths. All right, so I've written it that way. Equals 47. So to multiply by the reciprocal power, I'm just going to flip it, and I have 10/63. That's crazy, right? 10/63. But your calculator will do it for you. Now that I know it works because these cancel out, and I'll have x equals, and then I'll put all this in my calculator, and I end up with 1.84. So there's a lot of calculator work today that you need to get comfortable with. So before I end the video, I'm going to show you, I'm going to end it with the video of how I put these in the calculator with the fractions. All right? Make sure you watch it carefully and try to enter these yourself. So when we want to raise a value to a fractional power, like we did on our example in the notes, like 2.1, we're going to use the caret. it moves it up, the caret's right under clear, it moves it up into the exponent power, and then I'm going to do alpha y equals to put in a fraction, and that will put it, I can put in 1 over 4, like we discussed. And that's how I get my decimal answer. So in the second example, we had to raise 47 to a larger fraction. It was what, 10 over 63? Nobody wants to do that by hand, so that's how we enter it in our calculator. There it is. So put your base in and use the caret. The caret is right above the division bar, and that's what you'll need to get to the exponent area. And then to put a fraction in, you just hit alpha y equals.